Hi, I'm Khan. I am the lead narrative designer at Deep Silver Dambuster Studios.
Hi, I'm Dan Evans-Laws, and I'm Technical Art Director at Dambuster Studios.
What do you think a more lighthearted zombie game like Dead Island 2 brings to the table that other more serious zombie games like The Last of Us don't?
I would say that you hit on the word right there, the serious. You know, Dead Island 2 is about making zombies fun again. Is about going just full tilt, full time, over the top, and having it be gleeful mayhem in the sunshine, fun with your friends. You know, taking zombies apart. A lot of the more serious, as you say, properties use zombies as like they're a useful metaphor, or they're the setting, they're sort of the background for very good and important human stories. But that's not what we're doing. We want to make zombies the center of the experience. The game design, the look, the everything is about just zombies and killing zombies, and that's okay. Like, we're happy with that.
I think there was one review that I really liked that said, the best games ask important questions, and in Dead Island 2's case, that question is, do you think it's funny to chop zombies into pieces? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to love the game.
So I understand that Dead Island 2 doesn't feature any customization options for the characters' looks and clothing. So what made you go this route? Why didn't you decide not to include cosmetics or skins?
We have high hopes for the ways that the franchise will go. But the short answer is we already had 6 different characters, you know, each with their own personalities, their own VO, all of this sort of thing. And that wasn't where we wanted to spend time and bandwidth, of which we didn't have like a huge amount.
Yeah, and I think that there are, it's out on the internet already, that there are skins incoming.
Oh good, I couldn't remember if there are. There are skins coming. Stay tuned.
Unlike the first game, Dead Island 2 doesn't actually take place on an island, and the game ditches the open world for smaller open areas set in LA. Was this all planned from the beginning of development, or was it done halfway through? Like, maybe just run me through the process between the both of you and your team.
Well, I think that you'll find that the original Dead Island was it a pure open world?
No, it wasn't.
No,
it was similar to ours. I think
yeah.
you could argue that the beginning of the game, in our game, is a bit more linear than the original Dead Island. But I think once you get a bit further in, it opens out, and I'd say it's kind of similar.
Yeah. In general, the decision was made early on and stuck with. And the thing I think that Dambuster does particularly well is that instead of a very wide, open, honestly sometimes kind of empty world where you're going a long way to find the next little quest objective or the next bit of story, we've gone for a much more curated, rich, deep world. You know, we're not wide and open, we are deep and complex. So there's wonderful environmental storytelling details in every little corner, every direction you look. You know, there's a lot to do and see there. I think that so far, and the reviews in general, I think have been bearing this out, you don't feel the lack, because within each level, you know, you can explore at your own pace, you can wander around. It's not like the story's on rails or you know, requiring you to do exact things in exact orders, which in fact is a challenge for the narrative team because we never know what the heck the player has done so far, and we have to design things to work no matter where they are in general. And so yeah, I think that it's been a good decision, and you know, there's a reason that we run so well on even Gen 8 consoles, is that also helps things like performance.
Yeah, and I think it's really about the amount of time you spend doing something, isn't it? Because it's like you can spend 5 minutes, like just, I don't know, riding a horse or driving a car through like a forest, and it's all just a bunch of trees, and then find something at the end and it's open world. Or you can spend that same 5 minutes poking around in someone's house and finding all this cool information about them. You know what I mean? It's just a different thing.
And fighting zombies the whole way. I mean, a lot of it also is that we wanted you to run towards fights and to always have zombies to fight if you wanted to do that at any moment, basically, instead of running away from fights or having to go a long way between them.
Now, let's talk about the card system that is paramount in the game. Why did you replace the skill trees from the original with a simpler card deck ability system? Is it to make it more accessible, or do you have a different goal in mind?
So there's two main things I think there. And one of them is actually from the narrative point of view, I can't help but think this way, but it is a metaphor. Both trees and cards, when you look at them, I mean, yes, it's UI and it's an art style and it's all of that, but it's also, a tree is something that you grow slowly. It gets more complex and it branches out, but it is a steady, stable, essentially unchanging unless there's a hurricane or you spend money at a vendor to redistribute your skills altogether. It's an unchanging thing. Cards, as again, a way of thinking, and you can't help but sort of think about them this way. You picture a deck of cards, you don't usually picture it closed and static. You picture it in motion. You picture it shuffling, redealing. It's a very mobile, flexible thing. And we have the tiers of skill cards that help sort of theme them in terms of their power levels. But then you can change your cards at any time. And we wanted to encourage this thing of, instead of trying to find the perfect skill tree loadout that then you don't change, you should be changing your skill cards early and often to deal with what's in front of you right now. They're part of your arsenal, your toolkit or your toy box to deal with what's in front of you right this minute. So it's a really mobile kind of way of thinking, and cards were really useful with that. Also, the skill cards have amazing art and are really good, I think they add to the feeling of the game as well.
Now, one of the best locations in the game is the Monarch Studio backlot. What went into designing the funny Easter eggs and references to classic Hollywood B-movies, and what was the art direction like for this particular stage?
Well, I think straight away we were we're in Hollywood. We've got to go to a film set, right? And so it was kind of very early on, we decided that was going to be a location in the game. And yeah, it was just nice to be able to place the player in these sort of different environments that aren't part of normal LA, right? And
that jungle.
The sort of
the beach, D-Day,
Mayan ruins, and the D-Day one.
The rainy city streets.
Yeah. So it was just again, the game is about fun, right? And it was about putting the player in these places where they can mess around and have fun with stuff that they wouldn't normally be able to in a standard city kind of setting,
And a lot of it, again, it's a very gameplay driven design as well as experience for the player. And a lot of it was about if we want an excuse to be able to do thing, what environment would allow us to do that? And there's a lot of fun to be had with it, the D-Day beach. That there's a wonderful side quest in there, and that was driven a lot by I want to be able to have bombs and mortars going off that influence how the player approaches that. Well, what kind of allows us to do that? Okay, storming the beach on D-Day, not a problem. And then and a lot of the art and the game design really, I think, cooperated to make those moments work with, okay, well, if you want the dramatic door opening, let's make that door really dramatic.
Yeah.
Let's make it really big and cool, whatever it is.
I also like to add in one more question about the Carnival Level. That's basically Sunset Boulevard, right? Or are you thinking more of a circus sort of thing going on, and also the zombie clown as well in the game?
Zombie clown. The clown made an impression on a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's more Santa Monica Pier, which is again an existing sort of real thing that we've simplified, tweaked, dialed up to 11 in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's quite similar to the actual pier. It's a lot of the pier is pretty accurate. Where all the rides are is kind of about right. And they're kind of the same shapes as the real ones.
Yeah, to be clear, sorry, that was a different interview. The approach that we've taken to LA is not to do a perfect one-to-one representation. It's to render the different neighborhoods and the feeling of them in that sort of slightly exaggerated, picture postcard bit of LA that people think about. The franchise emphasizes paradise gone to hell, and Banoi, the island, was a really easy, an island paradise. Good, sorted, done. But LA is a paradise in people's minds as much as it is with the palm trees and the sunshine and the weather. It's an end goal for a lot of people. So being able to play around in LA specifically meant that we wanted to render an LA that would still be recognizable to Los Angelinos, but would be understood to be an exaggeration, to be a wonderful sort of, again, turn that up a little bit, saturate that image a little.
Now, why did you choose to end the game on a cliffhanger? Is it because there are plans for DLC or maybe a sequel, or do you have any other future plans for the
Can
game?
neither confirm nor deny this, Senator. It is on a cliffhanger for reasons. How about that? And we do hope that people have fun speculating on where the story will take the player character and Tisha and all the rest.
Will there be special exclusive co-op content for Dead Island 2 in the future, or is the co-op content limited to what's already in the game?
I will say that when it came to the co-op content, once we did experiment with different sizes of, Slayer squads and things like that. And I think you put it at one point, there's a lot going on the screen. There's a lot of information to parse and to work well together with the number of zombies we have, the kinds of effects we work with, the kinds of, damage you can do. Once you get beyond 3, it gets a little bit messy and not in a fun way. Just in terms of parsing information and being able to participate well in that co-op squad.
Now that the game is finally out, and with the reviews coming out, how do you guys feel about what are both of you guys feeling in terms of what has transpired with the game coming out and the reviews coming in, like your initial thoughts rushing in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly feeling relief, I think, because you work on something for 5 years, you're kind of, you get very close to it. You don't know exactly what people are going to think when they see it. You think, oh, it's got, it's good, but it's hard to know. And so it's been really nice to see people really enjoying the game in the way that we're intending it to be enjoyed. I think some people really get it. Other people don't get it quite so much. And I think some of that's to do with perhaps how you engage with the game. I think if you just run through it and just do the main quest as fast as you can, you're not really going to enjoy it as much as somebody who really experiments. And I think just my sort of impression that I get from reading the reviews is that the people who mess around with it and have a good time
are the ones who have the best time.
Are the ones who have the best time, yeah.
100%, yeah. And when it comes to me, I haven't been on the project since the very beginning. I've been in the studio for about 3 years, and it feels a little like it's relief, it's anticipation and hoping that people get what we're trying to do, but also there's a little moment of kind of getting to be a fairy godmother or godfather, people have been waiting for a Dead Island 2 for a long time. There's been some big fans of the franchise, and we finally get to grant their wish. Let it be. You get the thing that you were hoping to do, and it is true to the spirit of Dead Island 1, I think, and to the experience that they love. So I think that we've made something that is going to draw new fans in, but we've also absolutely respected the hopes and values of the existing fans of the franchise.